Well, it's really nice to meet you. I mean, I know we
Yeah, you
chatted a
too.
little bit, but great to like actually have a little chat. So I'll introduce myself in the podcast. Obviously, my name's Zoe, and I started this podcast about a year ago. Because I have muscular dystrophy and some heart problems, and I'm TPN fed. And I think for a long time, I just felt, I guess, a bit misunderstood, but also like society didn't really understand a lot of what it's like having these conditions and just having, health conditions in general at a young age. So I did the podcast and I've had lots of different people on with different stories to try and, I guess, just raise awareness and ask people to be a bit more empathetic and understanding to people like us, really.
Yeah.
Um, but obviously, I came across you from the PINNT charity, and I've honestly been looking for so long to find another person on the same type of nutrition to interview. So when I saw you, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to message her. So if you would like to do a little introduction for the podcast, that would be brilliant.
Yeah, so I'm Alyssa. I'm 24, which I feel like is relevant given that a large portion of this is somewhat to do with age and being younger people
Yeah.
on who are requiring health interventions, which, yeah, there's a lot of implicit bias about. We could go into, yeah, much on that. But yeah, I'm TPN fed. I've been on enteral feeding in the past. Um, since everything kind of started in 2023. So we're 2 years down the line with the feeding interventions, but I've always had problems going on. They're just, yeah, I have a host of things. I have Ehlers-Danlos, and that's led to a lot of complications in various areas of my body. So yeah.
So in regards to your TPN journey, because I know everybody's is a little bit different. So for me, for example, I can eat a little bit of food, but it's very difficult and I don't really absorb it. So that's why I have the TPN. But what has been your experience with the TPN?
Yeah, so I'm in a kind of similar position in that I am allowed to have oral intake. It's, however, when I do, I get quite debilitating symptoms. So it's something I tried to do a bit because obviously TPN is very harsh on your liver, and having
Yeah,
that oral intake actually does help continue to protect your liver because it's a different form of digestion rather than just being entirely on your liver like TPN. So I do try to have little bits of like a few crisps or crackers,
yeah.
and things just to keep it up as much as I can, but kind of in the comfort of my own bedroom where I know if I that I'm not going to feel very well afterwards, and I can just curl up with a heat pack and stay still, try to keep it down. But yeah, that's my and I have been nil by mouth completely for periods as well when things have flared up, but I have recently started some new medication that's been helping a bit, so it has been nice to reintroduce food a little bit, as I was, yeah, being entirely nil by mouth is extraordinarily hard, and people don't, yeah.
Yeah. I was nil by mouth for about, I think, 4 years. Yeah, I know,
My
and
goodness.
so like now, I mean, like you said, like when you can start eating again, like just the joy from even just having a little bit of a snack or a packet of crisps or whatever, like it's just nice to enjoy it. And I think, I mean, I don't know about you, but that's one thing I have been quite thankful with from the TPN is that it takes that pressure off, like with food. Like I don't have to force anything down. I know like I'm getting what I need and I can just have what I fancy when I fancy it, and it just kind of makes it a bit more enjoyable again, I think.
Yeah, yeah, no, I definitely understand that kind of prior to having, yeah, TPN and when I had enteral feeding,
Oh,
you're almost in a kind of fight or flight mode because you know that you have to force as much in as you can to keep yourself going, but you know it's going to cause so many repercussions
Oh
and
God.
just, but now it's almost more, I know if I'm really, really not, if my insides are really not cooperating, it's not like I have to have something because I'm getting all of the nutrition that I need. But it's something that I can do for a kind of almost sense of normalcy. Um, and
Mm,
I mean, I don't do it in social aspects, although that would be nice because
yeah.
I just know that I won't feel well enough to do that.
Mm,
But it does, I don't think people realize how huge of a thing food and drink is
oh my God.
generally until it's taken away from them.
Absolutely. I think, like you, I don't like if we go out with friends or for food, I tend to maybe just have like a little mouthful of something, just pick at something because I get really quite hungry. I don't know. See, I've got so many questions. I have to make sure I don't just like ask you like 20 questions.
Yeah, no,
But
just go ahead. Just
but like for me, I get really hungry still from the TPN, and so I like when we go out, I have to have like a little something. But I definitely much prefer to eat properly, like in my own home, just like me and my husband or like close people, because like you, I get a lot of tummy ache, and sometimes a bit of an upset stomach. I feel quite sick. It gets like stuck in my. It's just not always enjoyable in that sense. And I think people don't realise that ease and that um blessing just to be able to go out and eat on the go and be fine, not second guess it. Like that is such a luxury for people that I think, yeah, until you experience the opposite, you don't realise like just how big of a thing that is.
yeah, no, definitely. I think it's such a, I mean, food and drink is one of the essential things
Mm-hmm.
to do for life, and sustenance. And I think just your whole life, that's kind of what you're brought up to, you know, you're gonna eat, you're gonna drink. I mean, not for everyone, obviously. In some cases, people are on parenteral or enteral nutrition from birth, and
Mm-hmm.
in that case, I guess it's a different scenario, and I can't speak to them because, well, for
Yeah.
them, not to their experiences because I don't share that experience. But for me, it almost made me think how I maybe took for granted what I could do in the past because I could just go out and eat, and I could just go out and drink or go and get a coffee while I was out, and I wouldn't have to think about stressful things like where's a bathroom immediately,
Oh my
or
gosh, I
how
know.
am I going to walk after this because it hunches me over in pain. But it's so it's just something that kind of blows my mind that I'd never used to have to think about that, and now it's such a huge thing that just, yeah.
It blows my mind that I see people like downing coffees out and about, and I'm like, "Are you joking me? I'm getting anxiety watching you." Like, no
Yeah,
way.
no, because I
Oh,
just like I love to have a sip of coffee. That is one of my things. I very very thankfully decaf, of course, because
yeah.
my heart also would not cooperate
Oh,
with.
no,
Um,
no.
but
Mm-mm.
I it's one of the things I've very thankfully recently been able to somewhat start reintroducing. But it's something I sip very slowly over a long period of time.
Yeah.
And I think about how I just used to be able to go out, down a coffee before
Oh
work
my
or
god.
school or whatever, and I was just completely, that was fine. And
Oh my
now I
god.
could not even imagine what
That's
would ensue.
crazy. So, how do you find like the TPN? Do you tolerate it quite well?
I would say so. I feel like I'm somewhat. I mean, I'm not sure because again, I haven't spoken to a whole lot of people who are in the
Mm-hmm.
same boat. But I run my TPN during the day
Ooh.
because I really struggle with low blood sugars and
Oh my
things
god.
like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, when it's not running. So
Yeah.
it's for me, I need it during the day, or I can't get through the day without it on. And having that energy kind of keeping me going. Whereas overnight, if my blood sugars don't tend to drop as much because I'm not doing as much.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I'm mostly asleep. So, um, but so yeah, I run mine during the day, and I find I tolerate it fairly well, I think, so far.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not to touch wood. But I get on better with lipids than non-lipids. I find I quite struggle with, I have non-lipids today actually. But I find I get more side effects like nausea and things with the non-lipids, which
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if that they have a high sugar content and things like that. So
Yeah.
I think it's just one of those things, but it's I can still, most of the time, unless it's a really bad kind of flare where everything starts playing on each other, it's far more bearable than the alternative.
Mm-hmm.
And it, yeah, generally I think it's
That's really good. Like, that's really nice to hear because, I mean, like you, I haven't really met anybody else. I've not been able to ask people, but for me, I've really struggled for years to tolerate it. I mean, part of my kind of condition, I struggle a bit to manage any nutrition because of my levels, but I run mine overnight and I have to have it quite a slow rate and I have to ramp it off.
I do have to have a slow rate because yeah, going too fast
Oh my
is,
god, it's
I can't do that.
awful.
And I
It
have
is.
had, my liver has did flare initially. I had I had like a short period of TPN last year before I started it permanently this year, and initially this time my liver was not happy,
Mm-mm.
but that obviously a lot of things contributed to that, like refeeding and
Yeah,
all sorts. So no one's completely sure of the cause, but that was a scare. But yeah, I have to have it at a very slow rate because
absolutely. Like it, I go really sweaty and really hot and and I think that's
oh,
like the sugar spike. And
mm,
and then I get quite like palpy and feel sick and just rough. So then I start lowering it. But I have found that when I flush off, like in the day, I I have like the sugar crashes because all of a sudden I will go really, really like ravenous hungry and I'll feel like, oh, a bit lightheaded, a bit weak, and just a bit not great. And I started like checking my sugars and I was finding that it was the drop. So I think, yeah, I never, that's quite a new thing for me. I mean, I'd always struggled with them spiking in the night, but I'd never really had the horrid like, hunger sugar crashes in the day. But I recently have been having more TPN to try and put the weight on, and I think it's like the more of it that I'm having, the more hungry and like sugar crashes I'm getting. So it's a bit of a weird balance.
yeah, I guess where you're having it and then where it comes off, then your body's like, oh, I'm no longer getting the sugar, so it then
Yeah.
thinks it should be, and it's kind of in, but hopefully it's one of those things that'll adjust over time. But yeah,
Oh,
sugar crashes are horrible, but also the highs are, I think that's kind of what I struggle with the higher sugar bags as well, is that when
oh,
it gets too high, I also just get that horrible sweaty, like I it's all, and you
horrid.
feel faint, and it's
You
just,
do. It's
and the
grim.
nausea.
And like
Yeah,
you can't just stop it because then you'll just crash. Your
that's the
instant
thing.
reaction is, oh god, stop it, I want it off, but you're like, no, I have to ramp it off. Oh my gosh, it's not fun.
You have to power through, and you're like, I know I need it for all these other reasons, but yeah, it's one of those things again that people just don't have to think about. And
No.
I think about this so much at the minute,
Yeah.
just
Well, that
yeah,
was why I was like, we'll do this episode, and then people can kind of get a bit more of an idea of what it's like. Because I think you're right, a lot of people just don't get it, and I think it's quite a rare thing, really. I mean, we're
yeah.
used to it, but how have you found adjusting to life on TPN?
Um, I mean, I found, obviously, it's kind of a weird one because without it, I had no life.
Mm-hmm.
I was stuck in bed basically all day, every day. When I was eating, I was trapped in the bathroom for like 16 hours of my day every single
Yeah.
day. Um, So that was pretty much my life before I stopped tolerating my enteral feeds, and everything went downhill from there. So for about 2 years, well, 2 years I started the enteral feeds, 2 and a bit years, and then I'd been pretty much just confined to my room for about a year and a half, at the point where I was started on home TPN. So it's been a welcome adjustment in that way, as in I'm just so grateful and happy that I can do things again. But at the same time, it's obviously really, really hard because the procedures themselves are intense and take up so
Yeah.
much time. And again, I think that's something people don't necessarily understand unless they're really aware of what it is, like the sterile procedure, and it takes up hours and hours of your day. And the scheduling, you can't really be spontaneous. You have to be,
No.
everything has to be planned, and it's hard to travel, and it's hard to
Mm,
do all of these things that just are second nature to most people, that they can just do on a whim, and you don't
mm,
have that. But it's fine that I don't have that, because I'm just happy to have any semblance of a life back. But it is, and it's also just hard also thinking about the risks kind of constantly,
mm,
and just knowing that one slip up is
yeah.
so dangerous. And I practice with utmost caution, but people don't try to do these things
No.
to, it's just an unfortunate circumstance that just happens sometimes.
I am
And
such a germaphobe because of it.
yeah, it's
Mm,
definitely something you get very, very hyper aware of. But I would say, I mean, for me, I'm grateful that the benefits are outweighing the negatives. And that makes it, even though it's really hard, and sometimes you just want to kind of just scream,
yeah.
um,
Yeah.
because it's just such a, sometimes I'm just setting up, and I'm just like, God, today I really don't feel like doing this, but you have
No.
to, or it gets
I
to late at night
do.
and you need to do it, but you're tired, but you just
Mm,
know that you have
yeah.
to. But it's worth it for what it can give me. It's just, obviously, yeah, adjusting is huge, and adjusting to the lines and stuff as well.
Mm,
I've had two picks and a Hickman now, which the Hickman is far better, but
yeah.
yeah, it's the whole thing is just, obviously it's a huge change, and also just the way people perceive it, and the lack of awareness around it is
Mm-hmm.
hard, because it's not
People
something
just
very
don't
many. Exactly, like it's just not really something most people even know exists, let alone
know.
understand.
Oh my God, yeah.
So yeah, I don't know what your experiences with that are like, but
Yeah. I have, other than obviously medical people, I haven't really met people that really understand it, or let alone like, cause it's not just understanding the medical side of it or what it is, but it's, as you say, like the impact and, traveling, the when you just don't want to do it and you're so exhausted, but you have to. You can't be like, well, I just won't have it then, because that is what keeps you alive,
yeah,
and well. And I think for me, like, I have a bit of a love hate relationship with it, because I really respect it. It keeps me alive, it keeps me well, but it's hard work. And I think that is definitely an adjustment that we all go through, of being like, God, I don't want this, and it's a bit shit, but I also am thankful for what it get.
yeah,
It's a balancing act, isn't it? And it is a constant battle.
I
But I
can,
think it's a journey for all of us, and I think we just have to take it each day as we can, really.
yeah, no, I completely get that. It's where it gets to the point where it's, I mean, obviously it's a last resort treatment, and
Mhm.
no one wants it to be the option, but when it is the option, you have to make the best of it, and just
Absolutely.
try and live as much as you can. And I'm just trying to really savor every moment, because I've had everything taken away
Mhm.
from me, and thinking about how I was before is now, I just, every little thing that can bring me like positivity. I'm trying to just see, the bright side in everything, because it's
That
honestly
is the
just,
best way to be, honestly. That is the best way to look at it. And I'm so glad that you feel that way. Like, that's really nice and comforting for me to hear you say. And I'm sure for anybody that listens to this that might be, about to start that journey, or it could be a possibility for them, it'll be nice for them to hear you
yeah.
talk about that, and that, it's not a, oh, my life is over kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I feel like I mean, obviously it's not something that people should, this is also a topic of not something people should endeavor to be on, because I know
Yeah,
that's been quite a topic of debate in the whole
yeah,
area that
yeah,
and but if anyone is, in that medical situation where that's what is being discussed, I think it's something that can it can give you your life back rather than take it away.
absolutely.
And that's what, yeah, I've found, for when you're at a point where you have
No other.
no
Yeah,
quality of life, to get it back in any way is something you're willing to do, and
grab it with both
no
hands.
matter the risks at that point. It's, yeah, it's something it's like you say, it's both sides of it, because it's scary,
Yeah,
but it's also, if
it's so
you just
worth
want to
it.
live, you just want to survive.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what
Oh
you
my
have to
god,
do. Yeah.
absolutely. I think my my kind of, I guess, final question is always, it's always kind of a question, but what would you like for anybody listening to this podcast that maybe has no idea about TPN, no understanding? What would you like their take home message to be about, like, our journey?
Um, that's a good one.
I know that's a very difficult question. Everybody always says that.
I would say that we are still people,
Love that.
and nothing about our personalities has inherently changed because of what the way we're fed, and the medical things that we go through. We're still the same people. And I think that's really something that I've tried to, get across as much as I can, because I found throughout this whole medical journey that often I'm not treated like a person anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, from whether it's strangers or people I've known in the past, obviously those are not people I would keep in my life if that's how
Yeah.
they're going to treat me. But
Mm-hmm.
just that we are still the same. Just because we have this doesn't make us, it makes our lives and our routines different, but
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't make us any kind of, we haven't changed
No.
as who we are. And obviously it's important to acknowledge that we do have it, and that's what keeps us here. But I think it's more from the personality side. A lot of people seem to think that we are just completely different people, and that's not the case. And
No, I think sometimes people look at it like, oh, it's a lot, and, like, very hard work, and people just think, oh, don't want to deal with that. But I mean, being our friend and being in our lives, it doesn't change how we are as a person or our relationships or anything. It keeps us here. If you care about us and want to be in our lives, this is a good thing because it keeps us well and alive to be in your life. And I think, yeah, I understand it looks scary at first, but once you adjust to it and you learn about it, I mean, it's second nature to us now. Like, that's
yeah.
it's our life, but it doesn't have to look like this really big, scary thing to people in our lives at all. As you say, we're still human. We're still the same people that we were. We're just better fed now, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, it's a good thing, if anything, from that perspective. And I think it's obviously important for everyone to be educated, and if you're around people who are on TPN or enteral feeding as well, to learn about it and understand, as as best as you can what that entails, because I think just the awareness generally is really important too, and that's a big takeaway. But yeah, there's so many things. It's just kind of everything surrounding it almost. But I do think the just general treatment of people receiving TPN, etc., is something that just is important to me, and I'm really grateful to have a good medical team that
Oh
does
gosh,
treat
yeah,
that really prioritizes me as a person. And yeah,
absolutely.
that's they've saved my life. So
Yeah, absolutely. I can really feel how passionate you are about it, and I think it's people like you that help raise awareness about it. I mean, you come in and doing this podcast, I wouldn't have done this podcast without you, because as I said, I've been looking for the right guests for like nearly a year since I started. So the difference your story and your journey will make to people in the community will be massive. And I think it's so important to hear from people like you and just hear that positivity and that not all doom and gloom around it. So I really appreciate you coming on here and having a chat. And I'm so glad that we've been able to connect, because
yeah.
I've never met anybody my age on TPN, and it can feel like quite a lengthy journey at times. So yeah, I'm really glad that we can hopefully be friends now and
Yeah.
keep in touch and stuff. Definitely.
Yeah, no, that would be lovely. And I'm very glad you found me and we've connected, because again, I haven't spoken like huge. I mean, I've never actually had a conversation like this other than over messages with anyone else on
No,
TPN. So it's,
it's so
yeah,
nice.
it's
I,
nice to just have someone that that gets it, on an actual deep
yeah,
level.